Hello, my name is Steve Gearhart, and this is the Unagi Observer. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching today's video. Today's video is going to be about online conventions and how successful they appear to be. So, let's get started. Sorry, couldn't help myself. Anyway, so online conventions. So COVID-19 has pretty much killed the in-person convention for this convention season, particularly this summer. And we pretty much started closing down back in March. Various conventions started closing down. The big one, of course, was Comic-Con. When they decided to go, nah, we're not doing it, then everyone else pretty much followed suit. So then there was a period of time where everyone's just like, well, what are we going to do? How are we going to, this is the thing that I look forward to. So we can't go to a convention. What do we do? How do we do this? And that's when people started getting creative and started creating their own online conventions. Back in March, I did OnCon 2020, and I had a great time. It spanned 3 days, 2 full days, a half day on Sunday, just like a normal convention. I had a great time, and so I've been going to a few online conventions since then, including the most recent one being Otaku online, and so I feel like that there is an expectation now of what a proper, well-functioning online convention looks like. So let's start getting into it. So the first thing that you want to expect, or if you're putting together an online convention, is infrastructure. And by infrastructure, I mean what you want to do is you want to create a main page from which everything jumps off from. So you want everyone to eventually, basically, as you announce your convention, you want everyone to come to one place first. And from that one page, you want them to be able to jump off to other points, but to be able to get back easily. And also to the other points that they're jumping off, you want to be able to get them from point A to point B to point C, D, and then back to the main page with as much ease as possible. So you want to kind of keep it simple, but you definitely want to keep everything linked up. The other part of this, which is the actual platform, you have a choice. There's a ton of them out there, but there's two things that you want to make sure. The first thing is that whatever platform that you use to show your videos, whether they be panels, anime programming, whatever it is, that they actually have a good streaming rate so that you're not constantly getting the circle of doom, or you're just the visuals aren't that good. You're running at 240. So you want to make sure that the platforms are capable of handling what it is that you're going to put onto them. And in that sense, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you keep everything simple as possible. Simplicity is the key to online conventions. You'll see what I mean. And the other part of the infrastructure in terms of the platform is that you have to have a chat function with the platform. So if you're gonna show a video, you have to have the chat forum right there. It's the way that people communicate with each other during a convention. It's the way that they're going to ask questions of the panelists. It's a way for them to figure things out, and most importantly, how to make new friends, which is always good. Have the ability to easily maneuver between everything that you're going through. The whatever platform you use, it just determines on what you're willing to deal with, what you're willing to deal without. But again, you have to have that chat function. That is all important. So then we go into the next part, which again we want to keep simple, and that is programming. So here's the meat and potatoes of any convention: is your programming. Now again, I keep saying simplicity, simplicity, simplicity. You really don't need that much to make a good con, and the length of your con is going to be determined by what programming you put up and the quality of your programming. And that is so important, is the quality of your programming, because it's okay to have a one-day online convention if you fill it up with quality stuff. But if you don't fill it up with quality stuff, or you don't do as good of a job, then that one day seems kind of like a waste of time almost. One of the unfortunate things about online Otakon was that they had too many channels to choose from. They had too many things to choose from that really weren't important or relevant to an online convention. And that's the other part of it, is that when you're dealing with programming, you have to understand that what you would do in a normal in-person convention is not what you're going to do online. So you're dealing with a convention that has this big and has these many things, but now you're online, so your focus is about this big. And what we're finding out is that now for online conventions, panels are the actual drivers, meaning that is what people are coming to. They're not really coming to see a concert because they're not going to be in person in a concert. An interview is fine as long as you have the ability to Q&A with them, but if you can't Q&A, there's really no point to an interview. So that's why the chat function is also, going back to the chat function, is why they're so important and why your programming is so important. So you definitely want to set up something very simple. You want to set up at least one channel where you have people going to, that goes towards the panel. Those panels can be anything. They can be about kaiju, they can be about your favorite anime, history, or things of that nature, maybe J-pop music or J-pop punk music, whatever it may be, old anime, new anime, maybe there's an anime release that can be done, which Otaku did that, or maybe you have an actual interview with a Q&A at the end, things like that. And you want to make sure that you have a channel set for that, and you have a channel set for kind of the, how do I do this? How do I make that? What is, kind of like voice acting? How do I play Go? How do I do origami? The arts and crafts kind of stuff. Or, you're talking about swords, or, swords in seeing actual demonstrations. Things like that. So you want a separate channel for those kinds of things. And lastly, you want a channel for basically, I feel that if you have an anime convention, you should have anime playing. Not all online conventions do this, and I can tell that for some of them it's because there's an issue of whether or not something's public domain, so no one really wants to deal with that, to conventions like Otaku that have the resources to maybe put up old anime. I mean, they don't have to do anything big, but they could have made a channel out of it. And so that gives people who are in that lag time of, well, there's nothing I want to see here at 4 o'clock, and there's nothing I want to see here at 4 o'clock. So I'm going to go at 4 o'clock watch Spaceship Yamato or Pokemon or whatever it is that's playing at 4 o'clock in the anime programming. So it's just a little something for everybody. So, and you really only need 3 channels in a main page. Those, it seems like bare bones, but honestly, if you do it right, that's really all you need. And having a chat function, again, in each and every one of them will help you for the panels that are informational. You can ask questions, you can have a Q&A. When you have the panels about making something or doing something or learning how to do something, those questions are all important, aren't they? And if you're doing the anime stuff, or it's just an anime channel, like a side 2 where you're just watching anime, you could have an impromptu anime watch party, or you could do what I did at the Otaku online and watch Otaku no video and make new friends and be able to use the chat function to chat while the video is playing, which is kind of cool because it means that you're not disturbing anybody else. So I just think that's all kind of, when you put it all together, it's pretty cool. And the last thing I'm going to talk about in terms of the programming, I'm kind of oversimplifying the online convention experience, but the last thing I want to mention that you definitely want to make sure, since the panels are the drivers and that the Q&As are so important, it's worth it to have panels that are an hour long with a Q&A session built in. It's worth it to have that. It's worth it to only have 6 to 8 panel discussions of that nature than it is to try and fit in 20 and have only 30 minutes per panel, which means that there's almost no Q&A. And that happened, unfortunately, at Otaku. So at Otaku, there was actually some really good, promising panels that didn't quite launch that well or have good Q&As because they were only 30 minutes long. And they literally said, 30 minutes, you're up, next person, boom. Which leads to the last question is that when you do the panels, it's up to your how you want to do them. You can either do them, streaming them live, which means that if you do that, you definitely want a Q&A at the end of it. or you can actually load up a pre-recorded panel discussion and have the person watching the chat function and answer questions as they come up with the chat function. That works just as well too. Online conventions have been doing very well, and they serve a definitive purpose, and people are enjoying them, which means that we have a basic threshold or a basic expectation of what they should look like, and that's kind of what I just described. Basically, you want good infrastructure. It's going to be panel driven, so make sure that has plenty of time, and keep it really, really simple so that everyone can easily navigate and easily communicate with each other. And if you're able to do that, then you're going to have a successful online convention, whether it's 1 day, 2 days, or 2.5 days. It doesn't, if you run it well, it's going to be good, and people are going to remember it. Like, I'm always going to remember OnCon because I had such a great time. And when you don't have a good time and you kind of wonder about it, unfortunately, that's what happened with Otaku Online. It didn't quite meet the standard. So moving forward, will there always be online conventions? I think there will be at this point. I think we're going to have them going into 2021, simply because we still have the vaccine that has to go out. It's going to take time for that. So it would not surprise me if we're going to have online conventions going through next summer. However, at next August, a year from now, I think that there's a possibility that Otakon could be an in-person convention. If not, I hope they look at the standards of what people want out of an online convention and adhere to those standards a little bit better. So, what am I saying to you? If you think you can pull off an online convention, do it. Why the hell not? Have fun. Everyone else is going to have fun if you put up a good con, right? All right. So that's it for this week. My ceiling is vibrating. So that's it for this week, and my name is Steve Gearhart. This is the Unagi Observer. Thank you so much for watching. COVID-19 is a thing, so wear your mask, social distance, because I want to be able to meet you guys at some point in time. All right, guys, take it easy. And, almost forgot. Every Saturday night at 9 o'clock is the weekly dig over at Geek Archaeology. The link will be down below. And we do a discussion on a specific anime at 8 o'clock. Also, the link will be down below. So hopefully I'll see you guys there. All right, have a great week.